Hello, viewers, and welcome to the latest episode of The Huddle. Tim Poole here, editor of Gambling Insider, with Peter Ekmark, the recently appointed CEO of PlayStar. Peter, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Pleasure to have you on. Congratulations on the appointment. I think the best place to start would be to ask how the first couple of months have gone since the appointment.
Let's just say it's been a flying start, more so than any other job I've ever had, to be honest. It's extremely intense. It's not even been 3 months, right? And it feels like it's been more than a year. But I mean, generally speaking, I'm extremely positive. I think it's a privilege to work with such an outstanding team and awesome brand, to be honest. I really feel that way.
And it probably, when you say it was a flying start, it probably didn't help with your sort of peace and quiet that G2E was in that period as well.
No, that's true. It's been a couple of travel, a couple of bits of traveling too. Yeah, not only to GT, by the way, but yes, the 9-hour time difference also takes its toll on an old man, right?
Yeah. The time difference in Europe, US, that's something we can definitely get into later on in our discussion. Wanted to talk a bit about your career leading up to this point, because you've worked for some notable brands. You've got Jackpot Joy, Internet Vikings, Harvest Technology, and William Hill, of course, a household name within the industry. Walk us through this kind of journey and how that experience may well help you in your current role.
Well, I've been in the industry since, was it 2006 or turn of 2007? So it's just shy of 18 years now, in a nutshell. And I started with Maria Bingo. That was a startup in Sweden, which was acquired within a year by Unibet. Nowadays, I was Kindle, where I spent more than 8 years. So that's a significant part of my journey in the iGaming sphere. It's been interesting. Moving to Malta, I did that in 2016. It was meant to be only a year and a half, but it's been 8 years now. And it's been a hub for the industry, still is to some extent. I had the pleasure of joining a company called Vera and John following my tenure at Unibet. Vera John was acquired by or merged with Jackpot Joy Group, which then became Gamesys, which then became Bally's, and that's the tale of the industry, isn't it? It's something small, doing a good job, and becoming bigger as being part of a structural deal or merging with another company. Same thing actually with William Hill. I was never hired by William Hill, to be honest. I was part of Mr. Green. But that was a transition from Vera Joan to Mr. Green. I was on garden leave when that deal sort of came through. So I ended up doing something completely different for William Hill, being part of the integration, to be honest. And I was hired as a business development manager. So again, same thing, same but different, I guess you'd call it. I've always been on the commercial end, let's call it commercial development. That's my part of the industry, but it takes time to learn the industry. It's very fluid, it's very international, and it's kind of complex, much like banking in so many ways, including regulation, by the way. But I really enjoy working for, shall we say, small to medium-sized companies, because then it at least feels like you're part of creating something as opposed to maintaining it and making sure it doesn't go south for whatever reason. But everything has its pros and cons, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm interested in the sort of, you mentioned that mainly the commercial side, because there's a few, I guess, most common routes into CEO. Some go through marketing, some go through finance and accounting. I guess, what are the pros and cons, perhaps, of going the route that you took, the commercial route?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if there is like this secret sauce or recipe to become a CEO. It's just, I guess you have certain traits, which sort of makes you fit into the picture and deliver value to a company at a certain time. You're never going to have a job for life, right? It just doesn't work that way. And that's just been, you are in a position where you can offer value to a company at a certain time, and that's just exactly what happened in my case. It doesn't really matter, I think, background wise. I'm an engineer. I have a master's of science, electrical engineering. I've never used any of it, but it's timing, I guess.
Yeah, interesting. And obviously, in terms of giving value at a certain time, you've succeeded Per Hellberg in the role. What do you sort of take from his time at PlayStar, and anything that you might be sort of taking the mantle on moving forward?
Well, I mean, but Per and the team, they brought the company to where it is today. He and the team was part of getting it launched, and within the first year, from August 2022 to August this year, they went from 0 to $1 million in NGR. That's a fantastic journey. They entered into, I believe it was July or August this year, they were in market position number 13 in New Jersey as a startup. I mean, ahead of big brands like 888, Tipico, etc.
Yeah, it's a competitive market.
Small.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know personally, he's actually the reason I'm here to start with, because he was the one who introduced me to the founder, Joel Wickel. And I was part of the board for a while before entering this role.
So now that you say you've had this flying start, what are your main priorities, sort of in the immediate to near term future?
Focus, 100% focus. That's what this is all about for the time being. I mean, we want to be the best online casino in New Jersey, and we are well under our way, right? We are a casino-only brand, which is something that separates us and position us. And it's a fantastic brand. We will do this or achieve this by doing the basics better than anyone else. We are also, very inclined to give better service to our customers. We are smaller, we are niched, we can do that. And in a nutshell, it comes down to staff. It comes down to the crew. I think it was Richard Branson who said, if you focus on your employees, you will get happy customers. So happy staff, happy customers. And I sort of agree with that. We are a small team. We have no fat in our organization. But it is a strong team. It's handpicked. It's extremely experienced and very, very professional. And they're getting the job done. It's just, again, looking back to what has been achieved in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, the casino only angle is very interesting because you obviously at the moment you have less states to work with. But again, I used the phrase pros and cons earlier. I can see the pros and cons of not getting involved in the sports betting side, because it is what everyone's talking about at the moment. A huge number of users, but the margins are smaller and there are huge costs involved. So is that the trade-off?
We are not a sports book. We will never become a sports book. That's not what we do. We specialize in casino, and we will do that, and we will be the best at doing so. This is an online product, and we aspire to be the best provider.
You mentioned the time difference earlier. What are the biggest, I guess, challenges of European company, or even perhaps some European executive moving into the US market and a market like New Jersey, and especially, I guess, on the B2C side as well?
Yeah, it's definitely not time zone. I used to work a lot with Asia, and that's much more complicated in many ways. So in the USA or the Americas, it's cost and it's size. In our case, lack of size, but cost is the number one thing. The market is so huge. As a European, it's hard to take in. We have 50 states versus 27 countries in the EU, right?
Yeah.
The Americans are used to dealing with big numbers. Many years back, I was involved in a project in Sweden where we were supposed to introduce certain IT solutions for students. And we had an American consultant involved. And I remember a meeting where the question was how to market this in the best of ways. And his question was, how many Swedes are there? And we said, well, it's about 8 million. Okay, call them. That was his answer. And you know, none of us had ever even contemplated that, of course, but that's
Yeah.
natural for them because it's such a huge market. And we
Hmm.
are a small player, and we have to sort of adapt to that and do things better than anyone else. Apart from
Hmm.
that, regulation is always a challenge.
Hmm.
Uh, in the US, I think the focus is more on AML than responsible gaming, which would be the case in Europe. I'm
Okay.
sure this will shift, which is obviously the right thing to do. We are in a good place to deal with that since most of our staff has European experience, and to some extent, you know, the industry in Europe has grown over 20 years, and it's just a few years in the US, right? So we do have an angle there, even though I think if it took the Europeans 10 to 15 years to mature, it will take the Americans 5 to 10. So it
Hmm.
will be much quicker.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'd like to mention is
Hmm.
a bit unanticipated, at least in my case. We have quite a significant black market competition.
Hmm.
I never thought that would be the case because the Americans has been very good at clamping down on the gaming
Yeah.
industry previously, right? But now it's actually becoming an issue, and we are, you know, the licensed players are paying high fees and trying very hard to be compliant, of course. So that needs to be dealt with
Hmm.
at some point.
Would you say, from your experience, it's a much bigger problem in stateside than it is in Europe?
No, it's not a much bigger problem.
Hmm.
It's the same problem. I
Okay.
just didn't expect it because they
Hmm.
historically have been very good at dealing with that problem. And now the
Yeah.
focus seems to be elsewhere when the market deregulated, or sorry, when the market regulated and allowed for iGaming.
Hmm.
That sort of these are cryptocurrency actors in many ways. But yeah,
Hmm.
it is a growing problem.
Yeah, absolutely. We discussed briefly your market position in New Jersey earlier, and you said kind of ahead of some brands like 888 and Tipico. How do you reflect on the overall landscape? And you mentioned it's casino only, so we don't necessarily need to talk about sports books in that case. But obviously, a lot of those sports betting players, like the DraftKings and FanDuels, are still very heavily involved in the iCasino side as well. And you have BetMGM and Caesars. You know, how do you reflect on new entrants, but also that early success of the likes of FanDuel and DraftKings?
You know, I'm very positive about that. I think their success is our success. We are part of the
Hmm.
same industry, which means that we have the same challenges, and we also have a great opportunity. Entering into the US, that's a marathon. It is not a sprint.
Yeah.
And I think to some extent, at least, the dust has settled, or at least started to settle. So we're not seeing the mayhem that was, you know, the start of or the kickoff of the industry, where marketing activities were like, well, some European markets before regulation.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's becoming much more mature quite quickly, which is good for
Hmm.
everyone involved.
Yeah. And on that note, what kind of player is there a specific demographic or kind of player that you're targeting? And if you are to take market share, obviously you don't have a crystal ball, but where do you see that kind of market share coming from?
Well, currently we're only active in New Jersey,
Hmm.
and we are attracting customers who wants to have an entertaining casual casino online casino product. The PlayStar brand aspires for you to be the star, for our customer to be the star.
Hmm.
We do it, like I said previously, by providing service, personalized service. You can call us. It's not like just send an email or chat or anything like that. That's what we
Yeah.
can do. We're small and agile, and we want to take care and give the best possible customer service. It's super important to us. But
Hmm.
also, of course, be entertaining, rewarding. It's an experience.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I wanted to talk to your point. You mentioned a marathon, not a sprint in the US. Not sure how much you can say on it, obviously, given it's another brand, but a company that's come up a lot in this discussion is Bet365 recently. You know, they're only live in kind of I guess 7 states at the moment, and they have the resources to be live in a lot more. But maybe I guess that maybe speaks to your point about it's not necessarily a sprint. Even some of the biggest companies in the industry are just taking their time and assessing things.
Yeah, I wouldn't rush it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Take your time and do it properly. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there are only 6 states allowing for online casino at the moment, and there are 34 states, if I'm not mistaken, allowing for sports betting.
Yeah.
We have time. Let's get it right. Let's do it right and not rush things. That would be my approach as well. I don't know about the Bet365 strategy, of course, but I think they're doing an excellent job.
Yeah, sure. And I think that's a great segue into my last real question. Using that time and moving forward, what are the kind of goals? I guess we could split it into 2 parts: long term, but also if let's say we're sitting here this time next year, which we very well could be, reflecting on maybe your first full year as CEO, where would you like the company to be?
Oh, I want satisfied customers. I want us to have the highest customer satisfaction in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how to measure that just yet, but that's definitely one of my aspirations, and I think it reflects the entire crew of the company. That's what we want to do. Again, service our customers, giving them a personalized experience. It's about having fun, right? Entertainment. This is what casino is all about. 50% of the Americans have gambled in their life. That's a much higher percentage than you would find in any other part of the world. Mm-hmm. So they're used to this. It's part of their DNA. They've been doing it for years. That's the Las Vegas experience. They don't necessarily go there only to gamble. They go there for entertainment. Oh. And gambling is part of that entertainment. So it's a bit of a different culture from that respect. Short term, I want us to grow our market share. We are currently, like I said, where we were in August, market position 13, which is an outstanding achievement. I want us to become on the top 10. Mm-hmm. That's absolutely where we need to be, or want to be, a year from now. So when we have our conversation next year, Tim, that's exactly what I will, market and be very proud of, I hope. But having, as I said previously, it is about service, about product, and being customer centric.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love that answer, because there's an ongoing long-term goal, and you've given me a nice a concrete short-term goal, which good or bad, we can measure you directly against this time next year, but hopefully all will be well. Best of luck with everything you're looking to achieve, and really appreciate you coming onto the huddle. Thanks for your time and your answers.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I wish you a happy weekend and a happy Thanksgiving, by the way. That was yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Happy belated Thanksgiving and to all our viewers as well. But yeah, thank you for your time, and all the best to you.
All right. Thank you.